At 65, Johnny Whitaker finally tells the truth about Brian Keith. Johnny Whitaker was born John Orson Whitaker Jr. on December 13, 1959, in Van Nuys, California. From a very young age, Johnny possessed a unique spark that made him stand out, not just as a performer, but as a young boy who could connect emotionally with viewers in a way that felt pure and authentic. His performances were filled with warmth, honesty, and innocence, qualities that defined his career and made him a household name before he even reached his teenage years. Whitaker's entrance into show business came early. By the age of 3, he was already appearing in television commercials, quickly gaining attention for his natural presence and expressive face. These early appearances paved the way for what would become a remarkable acting journey. In 1966, his big break arrived when he was cast as Jody Davis in the beloved CBS sitcom Family Affair. Starring alongside Brian Keith and Sebastian Cabot, Johnny portrayed a young orphan who, along with his twin sister Buffy, played by Anissa Jones, came to live with their Uncle Bill. The show became an enormous success and ran for 5 seasons. From 1966 to 1971, Johnny's portrayal of Jody captured the hearts of millions of viewers who related to his tender vulnerability and sincere portrayal of childhood innocence, amid loss and adaptation. As Family Affair continued to soar in popularity, Whitaker's fame skyrocketed. He became one of the most recognizable young stars in Hollywood, admired for his professionalism and ability to handle emotionally complex roles with the maturity of an adult actor. His close relationship with his co-stars, particularly Brian Keith, translated beautifully on screen, creating a believable sense of family that resonated deeply with audiences. Off-screen, Keith became a father figure to Johnny, a connection that would profoundly influence him in later years. Following the end of Family Affair, Whitaker successfully transitioned into film roles, a feat that many child stars struggled to accomplish. In 1972, he earned widespread acclaim for his performance in The Biscuit Eater, a touching story about a boy and his loyal dog, showcasing his ability to carry a film with genuine emotional depth. That same year, he also starred as the mischievous but lovable Tom Sawyer in Tom Sawyer, 1973, produced by Reader's Digest and featuring a score by the Sherman Brothers. His portrayal of the adventurous boy from Mark Twain's classic novel was widely praised and remains one of the most memorable screen versions of the character. In 2012, Johnny Whitaker returned to the spotlight in a surprising and creative way when he co-produced and co-hosted a short-lived but memorable radio talk program titled The Dr. Zod and Johnny Show. The series gave Whitaker a platform to connect with audiences in an entirely new format, blending humor, candid conversation, and heartfelt reflection. Fans who tuned in often remarked on his natural charisma behind the microphone, his quick wit, and the thoughtful insights he offered about life in and out of show business. Although the show had a brief run, it became a nostalgic gem for longtime admirers who enjoyed hearing the once child star speak with maturity, humor, and honesty about his journey through Hollywood and beyond. The following year, in 2013, Whitaker took another artistic leap, this time onto the stage. He appeared in the Judson Theater Company's professional production of To Kill a Mockingbird, the timeless American classic based on Harper Lee's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel. Whitaker's performance as Judge Taylor, though a cameo role, carried a quiet gravitas that showcased his seasoned acting skills and his respect for literary drama. Audiences were moved by his presence, and critics noted how his calm authority and expressive delivery brought authenticity to the courtroom scenes. For Whitaker, the role represented a meaningful return to live theater, an arena that allowed him to reconnect with the pure craft of acting that first drew him to entertainment as a child. Then, in 2016, Whitaker delighted fans of all ages with a nostalgic cameo in Amazon's reboot of Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, a beloved series that had first brought him fame in the 1970s. Appearing in the premiere episode, he played the role of Zach, a cranky yet comical boat owner who trades barbs with David Arquette's salty seafarer, Captain Barnabas. The appearance was more than just a fun guest spot. It was a heartfelt nod to the original show and to Whitaker's roots in children's television, adding to the sense of reunion and celebration. The episode also featured cameo appearances by Sid and Marty Krofft, the legendary creators of the original series. For both longtime fans and new viewers, Whitaker's return to the world of Sigmund and the Sea Monsters was a charming reminder of his enduring connection to a generation of Saturday morning television magic. Through these diverse projects, radio, stage, and screen, Johnny Whitaker proved that his passion for storytelling had never dimmed. Each appearance reflected a different side of his talent, from his comedic timing and warmth to his dramatic depth and nostalgic appeal. Decades after first winning hearts as a child actor, Whitaker continued to evolve, showing that his creative spirit and dedication to entertaining audiences were as strong as ever. Johnny Whitaker's marriage to Simria Wright was a brief but significant chapter in the actor's complex personal life. The two were married in 1984 during a period when Johnny was attempting to navigate his way through the often turbulent transition from child stardom to adult life. By that time, Whitaker was already well known for his unforgettable roles in Family Affair, Tom Sawyer, and Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. However, behind the smiling boy next door image that had made him famous, he was struggling to establish a new sense of identity and purpose beyond the Hollywood spotlight. His marriage to Simria Wright came at a time when he was searching for stability, companionship, and perhaps a sense of normalcy after years spent in the demanding world of show business. Simria Wright was not part of the entertainment industry, and that difference may have initially appealed to Johnny, who had grown weary of the pressures of fame and the artificiality that often surrounded it. Their union represented a hopeful attempt at grounding his life and finding genuine connection away from the public eye. The couple shared moments of happiness and built dreams for a future together. But like many young marriages, especially those shadowed by the complexities of Hollywood, it soon encountered challenges. Johnny was dealing with personal struggles, including a growing disillusionment with the entertainment industry, and would later face issues with substance abuse that deeply affected his life and relationships. These difficulties likely placed a heavy strain on the marriage as emotional distance and conflicting priorities began to take their toll. By 1988, after 4 years of marriage, Johnny Whitaker and Simria Wright decided to part ways and finalize their divorce. The separation marked a painful period in Johnny's life, but it also served as a turning point. The end of their marriage pushed him to confront his own personal demons and reassess the direction of his life. Though little has been publicly shared about Simria Wright herself, she remained largely private after the divorce. The experience profoundly shaped Johnny's understanding of relationships, resilience, and self-worth. In later interviews, Whitaker spoke candidly about the hardships he faced during and after the marriage, reflecting on how losing that partnership was one of several wake-up calls that ultimately led him to rebuild his life. Following their divorce, Johnny entered one of the most difficult phases of his life, a time when he battled addiction and drifted away from the acting career that had defined his youth. Yet out of that darkness came a remarkable transformation. Years later, he emerged sober and spiritually renewed, dedicating himself to helping others who were fighting similar battles. In that sense, his short-lived marriage to Simria Wright can be seen as a chapter that, while painful, played a vital role in his long journey toward healing and personal growth. For decades, fans of the beloved 1960s sitcom Family Affair have held a special place in their hearts for the touching relationship between young Jody Davis and his on-screen uncle Bill Davis, played by veteran actor Brian Keith. Now, at age 65, Johnny Whitaker, the child star who portrayed Jody, has decided to open up in greater detail about what it was really like working alongside Keith, a man who became far more than just a co-star to him. Brian Keith wasn't just another actor on set, Whitaker revealed. He was like a second father to me, someone who took the time to teach me, guide me, and protect me from the pressures of Hollywood when I was just a little kid trying to make sense of it all. His words shed light on the deep emotional connection between the two, one that extended well beyond the cameras and the carefully written scripts. Whitaker explained that as a young boy of barely 7 when Family Affair began, he was thrust into a world filled with adults, long working hours, and intense expectations. Amid all that, Brian Keith stood out as a stabilizing presence. He was tough, but he had this soft heart, Whitaker said. He didn't talk much about feelings, but you could feel that he genuinely cared. Keith, known for his gruff demeanor and masculine presence, took the time to joke with the children between takes and even helped them understand the meaning behind their lines. He would say, "Don't just say the words, Johnny. Believe them." That stuck with me my whole life. But Whitaker also confessed that his relationship with Keith wasn't always easy. He could be intimidating. Whitaker admitted he had that voice that could shake you, and when he got upset, everyone knew to stay out of his way. But I never doubted that he loved us. He was just a man who carried a lot of weight inside. Whitaker's tone turned somber when he reflected on the struggles that Keith faced later in life, including personal tragedies and declining health. "I think people forget that even strong men like Brian can be broken inside," he said quietly. He had seen and been through so much, and sometimes that pain would come through in ways people didn't understand. When Family Affair ended in 1971, Whitaker was just a teenager, still figuring out who he was outside of his child star image. Brian stayed in touch with me for a while. Whitaker revealed he would call and ask how I was doing, especially when he heard I was struggling. But Hollywood can pull people apart. We both had our paths to walk. Years later, when Whitaker learned of Keith's tragic death in 1997, he was devastated. "I remember crying like a kid again," he said. "It broke my heart because I knew how much pain he must have been in. He wasn't just my TV uncle. He was family to me." Whitaker went on to share how much he still carries Keith's lessons with him today. "He taught me what real professionalism looks like," he said. "He showed me that acting wasn't just about fame. It was about truth. Brian had this way of making every scene real, like it wasn't acting at all. He'd say, 'Johnny, if you don't feel it, the audience won't feel it either.' That advice has stuck with me for over 50 years. In reflecting on Keith's influence, Whitaker emphasized how rare it was to find someone in Hollywood who genuinely cared for the welfare of a child actor. There were a lot of adults who saw kids like me as props, he explained. But Brian never did. He saw me as a person. He looked out for me. And I think that's one of the reasons I was able to survive the business when so many child stars didn't." Whitaker has spoken in the past about his own battles with addiction and depression after his fame faded. But he credits mentors like Keith for planting the seeds of resilience in him. "Whenever I was down, I'd think about Brian's strength," he said. "He was the kind of man who faced his demons with courage, and that inspired me to keep going." Today, Whitaker looks back on Family Affair with deep gratitude, not just for the success it brought him, but for the relationships that shaped his life. "I don't think I ever really told Brian how much he meant to me," he admitted wistfully. "If I could, I'd tell him that he changed my life. He made me believe in myself, and that's something no fame or fortune could ever replace." Johnny Whitaker's heartfelt reflections remind fans that behind the smiles and laughter of television's golden age were real human connections. Some tender, some complicated, but all deeply meaningful. "Brian Keith was my hero," Whitaker concluded. "And now looking back at 65, I finally understand that he wasn't just playing a role. He was showing me every single day what a real man and a real father figure should be." Today, Johnny Whitaker honors Brian Keith not only as a co-star, but as a profound influence who helped shape the person he became. "Brian was complicated," he concluded. "He had his demons, but he also had tremendous love and integrity. He didn't always say it, but he showed it in the way he worked, the way he treated people, and the way he carried himself." Whitaker hopes that by finally telling his truth about Brian Keith, fans will remember the man not just for his roles on television, but for the quiet depth and humanity behind them.